Hi, I'm Caroline Ryder of Ryder Horsemanship, and I'm here to present this month's Holistic Horse Ask the Expert Q&A. And this month we had a viewer write in about how to help her horse not to rush into the canter. Every time she asks for the horse to pick up the canter, the horse becomes unbalanced, throws itself forward, becomes anxious, nervous, and of course rushes into the movement. And sometimes there's a little bit of a buck, and she's not quite sure how to help create an easier transition both mentally and physically. So I've brought in two of my horses. Lovey is an off-the-track, 4-year-old off-the-track thoroughbred, and then Smokey. Everyone's pretty familiar with Smokey, my 15-year-old quarter horse. So we have a horse that's just learning to develop better self-carriage, and a horse that has Smokey incredible self-carriage. So what we're going to talk and demonstrate today is the free lunge, how to diagnose or evaluate your horse freely in a space like this, so you can see how they move uninterrupted without a saddle and without a rider. And I'm going to show a horse that's just starting to develop self-carriage, and I'll talk about why it's so important. Self-carriage is everything, and that is what allows our horses to move in and out of movement, whether it's speed, different gaits, or transitions within the gait with ease, relaxation, balance. We also are looking for a horse that can reach well underneath themselves, of course with their hind end, and be very collected and through. And of course, if we can create this uninterrupted without aids, let them learn it freely at the free lunge, refine it through the online lunge, which I'll show next. And then the third is how that transfers over into the riding when you have a rider on the back. So for me, again, if I have a horse that comes to me, a student or a client, a new horse, and the horse is not very relaxed or smooth or fluid into any of the gaits, in and out of any of the gaits, whether it's the walk to the trot or the trot to the canter and back down again, I'm going to evaluate the horse first freely in a space like this, so I can see how the horse travels, how the horse moves uninterrupted without any aids. So we're going to take a look at Lovey. Smokey's not the best horse for this work because he won't leave me. So I'm going to use Lovey right now because she'll get out on the rail and she'll be able to get a really big, energetic working trot. And what I want your eye to look for is Lovey very even and through, meaning is she hollowed out? Does she keep raising her head to pull herself forward on the forehand? Is she tracking or not tracking? How does this horse look to you? And I'll talk about what I'm viewing. So first we're going to put Lovey out, push her out, and into a trot. Good. So right now, Lovey's head's a little bit high. And what I want you guys to be looking for is she tracking? Is her hind hoof print taking her front hoof print space? Yes. Is her neck and head a little bit more even? Yes, meaning she's lowering her neck and her head, and she's traveling more fluid, more rhythmic, more relaxed. I'm going to keep her trotting. She's tracking beautifully. You can almost see a V from her diagonal pair of legs. So when her front and her left meet, you can almost see a V there. So that tells me she's reaching very well underneath herself, exercising her top line, the muscles on her back. I've seen Lovey stretch her nose down, good girl, to the ground when we do this work, which is excellent, the stretching, because it lengthens and strengthens the muscles. But what I am also happy to see is that she no longer hollows out. There she goes. She's starting to stretch. So when a horse stretches like this, it tells you that they're opening up, they're not only releasing, breaking at the pole, they're opening up their withers and their shoulders. And they can't put their nose to the ground like this unless they are really balanced in using their hind end very well. So that is how I want the horse to start when I start doing this work. I want to start training them so that they can find this ease and relaxation and stretching on their own without any mechanical aids, and every horse can do this. And every horse that I work with needs to find this. So you can see how she's starting to lower her neck a little bit and get more even and straight. Very nice. How straight is your horse? Can she maintain this rhythm? This is very important to self-carriage. And very important, self-carriage is all about balance. Balance, being collected, moving from the hind end forward, being straight, rhythmic, so that she can maintain this outline or frame on her own when you guys start to ride. With very little correction. Good girl. Good. So she's really starting to reach. Excellent. Good girl, love. She wants to come in. Good girl. That's why her circle's getting smaller. And this is what we teach. Good girl. Very nice. So I'm showing you the qualities that I'm looking for when I'm assessing a horse and how well they travel. And as you could see, she had very fluid, rhythmic, regular movement. There was no speeding up, slowing down. She was mentally calm and relaxed and physically very fluid. And that's really important. She wasn't like that when we first got her, of course. I mean, off the track thoroughbred. And so we had to help her find that mental relaxation as well as the physical relaxation so her body could start working effortlessly. And again, we're looking to create this, and we want to build her cardio and her strength for this work, and we want to build it properly. We want to build the proper muscle strength, and not here where she's pulling herself through and she's stressed. I want her to really relax and push forward into that. So when I put her online to show you how we refine after we get this, and it may take a month, it may take a while until the horse is really relaxed in here, it depends on their experiences. But this is the quality that I'm looking for. And so it'll take as long as it takes until I can get this at the free lunge. Now I'm also going to be working online through my lunging method for self-carriage, and I'll show you that next. Hi, honey. I'll show you that next online, because those two things are very important to building our horse's balance so that when we go to ride, we have little interference or little influence. And the horse is very balanced, has a lot of physical strength, and is mentally very sure and very confident. So that's very important. So now I'm going to show an advanced horse, one of my schoolmasters, free here at the lunge, and how this work shapes him with his self-carriage and his balance so that he can do this very small work around me. Very small. And Lovey's been trained, to come in and do a small circle around me as well to help really with her balance. And I'll talk about what it looks like in Smokey's body. But she can't handle the canter yet, and she can't handle a canter on a small circle. So in classical dressage, as you're preparing, which I follow, as you're preparing your horse to do all of these beautiful advanced maneuvers with us riding them, you must make sure they can do these maneuvers in hand or freely. And so I work very freely to get the horse so that she will be able to do almost a canter pirouette around me eventually. And you'll see how Smokey will be able to do this very small 5 meter, if that, canter, and he will be braking at the pole, lifting his shoulder, and really stepping underneath himself. And this is a horse, when he came to me, he's very damaged emotionally, mentally, and abused. And his riding was horrible. He could not track, meaning when his hind hoof print came to, it should take, whether at the walk, trot, or canter, it should replace the front hoof print. Well, there was about 1.5 feet space because he was so stressed and so tight and so heavy and downhill, heavy on the forehand. So it took this work to help him find his self-carriage. And the more tuned in and connected and safe and trusting your horses through this work, the more they're going to work with you. And you are going to watch me set the, you know, work my body how I want him to work his body. So he's going to start to mirror me. And that's really, I mean, it's huge evolution of the work and mastery of this, but this is where it can go. And that's what I want before I start working with more advanced technique and maneuver under saddle. I want him to be able to do this on his own, so that when I go to ride him and I go to finesse it in the bridle or bitless bridle, it is easier for him. You know, the bridle and the bit, whether it's bitless or with a bit, is just there for refinement. It's not there to train. And my principles follow the classical training pyramid. And in Europe especially, because they follow the classical method, they're very loyal to it. You don't put a bit in a horse's mouth for years. This horse is learning all of these advanced maneuvers in hand, on the ground, before a rider ever gets on them. And by the time the rider gets on, the rider is lunged. The rider has no reins, because now the rider has to find his balance in that movement. And of course, the seat is the captain. So by the time the 4th year comes and the bit is introduced to the horse is already carrying themselves in self-carriage. So the bit is just to help refine the upper movements. And I follow that. I follow that practice. So here we'll get Smoke. And I'll ask him out. Let me get his attention. Good boy. Good boy. So Smokey is not going to track like Lovey at the trot. I mean, his trot is not going to get that big. And I'm not very successful at sending him out away from me because he's so hooked on. So I'm going to pull the eye in and kick the hip out a little bit. Good. And when I pull the eye in, that's called the shoulder in dressage. Now this is about self-carriage, and all of this work is about helping your horse mentally and physically have more fluid, smooth, rhythmic, and relaxed movement in and out of gaits, in and out of transitions. So the more Smokey looks at me and the more he bends around me, the more he has to lift his weight off of his forehand and transfer the weight to the hind end. If you, as a person, were to get on all fours and mirror this in your body, the biomechanics of it, you would feel that as soon as you look into the circle and look at me, you will transfer your weight from your front to your hind end. And the purpose of my lunge whip here, good boy, is just to help encourage more stretching and length from his inside hind leg. Come, babe. So I'm just trying to encourage him not to speed up, but to stretch more. And what will happen when he picks up this canter, come on, you'll see him start to break at the pole and lift and get really underneath himself. Come on, with his hind end. So his inside hoof print takes his front hoof print every time he canters. That's self-carriage. He's very rhythmic, he's very through, he's maintaining his frame, and you can see how he's lifting up, and he can't lift up if he doesn't have his hind end underneath of him. So let's take a look at that again. Thank you, buddy. Let me see if I can get a little bit more energy. Smokey has amazing balance. He doesn't have a lot of impulsion, forward movement. So let me just get him going, and then I'll bring him in. Good. Good. There we go. There. Good. Beautiful. So that's a frame. He's created that himself. I didn't create that by riding. We created that here through the Liberty, the free lunge, and of course when I put Lovey excuse me, in her halter and lead rope, I will show you my lunging method that will help refine this. So that's where we're going to go next. This is my lunge method. It's just a 12 or 14 foot lead rope and a rope halter and a lunge whip. This is a little shorter, it's more of a carriage whip. So right now at the walk, I want energy. So this is how I'm going to start to refine. I'd like her to look at me, and I'd like to kick her inside hind leg more underneath of her, so I want her to stretch more. That's the purpose of the whip. It's not to speed her up. It's to encourage her to lengthen and strengthen. And the more she looks at me and connects to me with her inside eye, and I can help that, good girl, by a couple little tugs here, the more she connects to me, the more she'll transfer her weight to her hind end and lift her forehand. So the whip is only used not to encourage movement, to encourage her inside hind leg to stretch, whether it's laterally, vertically underneath of her, or forward. So she's over tracking, which is beautiful. That's a great sign for dressage. Good. I'm going to ask for the tempo of the trot now. And look how small my circle is. So I've never damaged any horse on these small circles because it takes months to prepare them, prepare their self-carriage, their balance. Good girl. So the more slack I have in this rope, the more I know she's bending and arcing and creating her own shoulder in and self-carriage, and I'll help. Good girl. Because what I want to show you is how I'm going to help her prepare for the canter. Now see how she hollowed out her neck there? Pull, good. Pull her nose back in. Good. Good girl. Nice big trot. But she's got to have the shoulder in. She's got to be looking at me before I ask for the canter, and I need to push that inside weight-bearing hind leg forward so she can catch her balance. Nope, she's not on the correct lead. So that happens when she's not thinking and she's stressed. So I'll slow her down. You can hear her breathing. And I'm going to push her into the canter. Good. I'm going to push her into the canter. Good. And let her go a little bit. Let the rope out, because it's a small circle for a big horse. Push. So all I'm looking for right now as I develop her transitions and her self-carriage into the canter is that she can use the correct hind leg, pick up the correct lead, and push off into the canter. I'm not looking for her to canter many times around me right now. I'm looking for her to figure out how to use her body correctly and in balance. So I'm not going to ask for this canter until her trot is rhythmic and regular and relaxed. Good. Good. So you really see that inside hind leg come under and her sit back a little. Good. Nope. Incorrect lead. Good. Good. So what you're noticing too as she picks up the canter is that she's actually breaking at the pole on her own. Do you see how she's breaking at the pole? So she might be still a little hollowed out. Nope. Outside. Counter canter. Good. She might be a little, you can see how the stresses her out a little bit. She's next racehorse. So that's why we are slowly developing the canter departs. Good. Mentally and physically. Good girl. Good. We're going to go in this direction. Good. Good. So I'm going to pick up the trot, wait for the trot to get rhythmic and relaxed. And it's a little fast. She's speeding up. We'll move out of that ditch over there. Good girl. Good. Good. Good girl. So when I feel she's more together rhythmically and relaxed, I will encourage the canter depart, just the canter depart. She can come back down into a trot anytime, and I want her to, because I want her to, good girl, there's some self-carriage. She's breaking at the pole again. I want her balanced, and it's obvious she's losing her balance at the canter. So I want to encourage her. Good, there, good. Just a few strides. Good girl. Bring her back to some rhythm. Help her. Little pop, pop, pull up the nose so she looks in and straightens instead of leaning. So there's a lot of dynamics going on. Good girl. Good girl. Look at that nice canter depart. Let's get out of that ditch over there. Good. Good. Now, as you refine this, she'll be able to go from a walk to a canter like Smokey, and she'll have a much smaller, easier, slower trot. But right now I'm happy with this big, energetic working trot because she's stretching and really using her hind end to push forward. So this is very important as you're developing and starting your horse into the canter to parts. As she refines and masters this, she'll look like Smokey. Good girl, good. But right now, this is how you begin them. And sometimes your circle, you'll walk out more. You won't be able to hold your position like I can right now because she's had enough of this work. Sometimes you have to move out or you have to have a little bit of a longer line. This takes many months, and that's why our horses are never injured through these small circles, because we are shaping them and teaching them how to carry themselves and how to move in and out of movement smoothly with relaxation, fluidly, and through. So next phase of this, we've done our evaluation, we've done our work, is I'm actually going to ride Smokey because he'll be the best demonstration. I'll ride Lovey too because she's actually carrying herself and maintaining her movement. You know, I can help her find her balance under saddle and then she can maintain that. So it's really nice to see her doing that. But she won't be able to canter. We're just starting the canter to parts under saddle. So I'll be showing you both horses at different phases. Thank you.